Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have our friend here, Lindsay, joining us once again, the owner of 3F Living. And also, of course, it's Lindsay Joyce, I should say, is her name. And we're going to point out that her and her husband, really, they have this amazing business. And she's the founder and CEO, 3F Living. So we're talking about, well, architectural, interior design. I mean, they do it all. Husband and wife duo. Let me have Lindsay introduce herself to you. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me back, Jill.
Thanks for being
Yeah, just like, thank you. Yeah, just like what Jill said, I started 3F Living about a little more than 10 years ago. And as everything evolved, my husband came on and we started working together, which kind of transformed the business into interior design architecture, in New York City. And we do help our clients from initial design to move-in day through project coordination to create a more meaningful and personal environment for them.
Great. And how can we reach you? Would you mind sharing your contact information?
Sure. It's 3fliving.com. And you can follow us at 3fliving on Instagram.
Perfect. So let's start today. We're going to talk about how much does it cost to renovate, because that's an important thing, right? Obviously, people
Yeah.
always have a budget. I mean, very rare that they don't, which could be amazing. Let's talk about, the services you provide specifically, and how much does it cost to hire an architect and a designer?
These are all the big questions that everybody wants to know day one, which is always very hard for us to kind of predetermine. But I'm hoping that with the show today that we'll be able to make sense of just where everything stands in the city on how that kind of, flows and how much it costs. So I'll start with our phases. So we have three phases that we offer of services. So phase one is interior design and architecture, which basically takes the client from the initial design of putting together the filing set, the co-op board drawings, selecting all of the finishes, going through the co-op approval process, going through DOB approval process, as well as bidding out with contractors. So we also help, that's all part of phase one between the architect and the interior design team. And essentially at the end of phase one, you would have your approvals, your permits in hand, your finishes selected, and contractor selected. So that's generally based on your scope of work. So it depends on whether you have, a studio, full gut, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, a combination. And we essentially estimate our hours based on doing this for so long. We know generally how much that would take. So we have an hourly fee that's already predetermined and fixed. The only time that number ever changes is, let's say we've gone down a road where we've submitted to the board and everything's underway and the technical drawings are underway. And then all of a sudden the client's like, oh, well, I actually do want to add that additional bathroom over there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then we would
Okay.
have like an ad service or something like that. But generally, phase one is pretty much a fixed cost for everything that I just kind of outlined. And then at phase two, we have project coordination and owner's representation. So that essentially takes you through that construction process where we set forth the project schedule, the construction schedule. We do quality assurance. We're on the job site, the eyes and ears, kind of the middleman for the client. So if any field conditions come up, if change orders come up, why are there change orders? What are they all about? All of that, as well as dealing with curveballs, which we went into a whole bunch last week on all the variables that can come up. And that's what we help with. So that is 10%. It's very straightforward. It's 10% of the contractor's cost. So essentially, the way that I should also back up to phase one. So as we're bidding out the project and selecting finishes, we kind of steer our clients towards the vendors that we like to work with and that we have trade accounts with.
Yeah.
So we can get 30% off, 40% off, 10% off of tiles, sometimes appliances, wood flooring, all of these things that we get at trade pricing that also contractors get at trade pricing, but we don't do any markups. So we basically give those trade discounts during phase one to our clients. So they pay directly to our vendor, absorbing our trade discount. But then in phase two, with the contractor, he's not providing the finished materials. We are, because they've already been purchased directly by our vendors. So really what we're doing the 10% on is the management of the labor and construction materials. And that's really what it comes down to. And the reason why we do it that way is because we understand that to renovate in the city is very expensive. To renovate anywhere is expensive, but specifically in the city. And you do need somebody that has expertise to kind of walk you through that process. And so we try to offset our phase two price by giving you a significant discount on all of your finished materials in the beginning. So that kind of offsets, because if the contractor were to provide and install finished materials, so like you select it, or the contractor says, go to this place, go to my vendor, select what you want, and then all included underneath our 20% general condition. Well, we've just saved all of that, and you have our expertise in picking out the materials and managing the install. So it kind of equals out. And then phase two essentially takes you from initial construction starting to move-in day. And then phase three is decorating. So we charge an hourly fee based on your scope of work. And again, trade discounts. So anything that we get at trade pricing, you pay direct. So furniture would be, furniture, area rugs, artwork, all of those things that are not nailed down would include decorating. And again, that's just paid direct to whatever vendors we, kind of have discounts with. And then you just pay for our estimated hours.
So can I even ask how much do you need to budget for a renovation in New York City? Anywhere
Yeah.
from what to what would you say? I mean,
okay, so I mean that's a great question. So now that you kind of know the fee structure, how does that fit into the big picture? So I'll start with basically how much does like to purchase, right? So everything is done by price per square foot in the city, whether you're purchasing, whether you're renovating. So and I'll start with a studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom, so I can kind of break it down a little bit easier that way. So just to purchase, let's just say generally a studio size in the city is 500 square feet, roughly. It could be 480, it could be 515, but let's just say 500 square feet. That would be a studio size, pretty standard, and it could cost you just to purchase it about $1,000 price per square foot, and it can go all the way up to like $1,600 price per square foot. So you could be spending $500,000 on a 500 square foot potentially apartment. So that's kind of where it starts. And then let's break it down into there's 3 levels on what I call them 3 levels. And I guess any design firm has different ways of doing this, but the easiest way I can describe it is there's a basic, there's a mid-range, and then there's a high range. So price per square foot to renovate at a basic level could be anywhere from like 200 to 250 price per square foot.
Okay.
And then mid-range would be more like 300 to 350, and then high end could be 400 to 450, and then onwards up from there. So, and then just to kind of take that a step back, what is basic? Like, what do you get in a basic renovation, right? So, basic is not getting you, it's getting you basically everything that's stocked items, no specialty orders, no customization, so no custom millwork. You're getting usually like a big box, kitchen.
So I was going to say, so if we're renovating, let's say a studio, right, and say it's 500 square feet, let's say it's 250, so it's about 125,000 for a basic renovation for a studio apartment. And does that include though, like your appliances, your cabinets? Is it, what's included in that?
So so a studio, so a studio like 150 or 125. And so usually what we do is we take that number and then we break it down into percentages. So
Mm-hmm.
out of that 125, about 50% is going to the contractor
Yep.
for construction, labor, and materials. And then 20% is generally the architect, interior design, project management, filing fees, expediter
Yep.
fees. That's all kind of in there. And then 30% is roughly your finished materials.
Got it.
So that's kind of how that would be broken down. So, generally like, a one bedroom, um, mid-range would be like 250
Okay.
to $250,000, because if
Mm-hmm.
we're still doing, and a one bedroom size in the city is generally around 780 to 780 to probably like 815
Mm-hmm.
square feet. And then a two bedroom is usually coming with two bathrooms typically, so that's around 1200 to 1400 square feet. And then a three bedroom is like around 2100 to maybe 2300 square feet. So you
Okay.
can see how those prices can really
Yeah.
jump,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, even let's just say an average one bedroom full gut renovation, like your mid range, where you're
Is.
getting custom cabinetry,
Yeah.
semi custom cabinetry, right? Doing
Mm-hmm.
custom radiator covers, doing those things, but no AV, right? So, if you want to add in like audio visual ceiling speakers, drop ceilings, overhead lighting, you're probably in the range of like maybe 350 to 400 price per square foot. So you're
Mm-hmm.
not quite high end, but you're more into like that middle
Got it.
range. And
Okay.
there's ways of doing that. We
Mm-hmm.
have clients that come to us and they say like, I bought the studio, my kids live in the city. I wanted to have a place so that I'm not like paying for a hotel every time I come in to see my grandkids. My parents included did this.
Mm-hmm.
And they purchased it, and it's going to be with them for a very long time, so they wanted it to be comfortable for them. And so some people are willing to spend a lot more, even just on a studio, or even a one bedroom, just because they want it to be comfortable, knowing that it's going to be a long-term investment for them,
And
and
their
then
family,
and
next
then their
generation
family.
and next generation. Yep.
Exactly. And then, we have other clients that are like, okay, I bought this one bedroom apartment. I want it to like feel comfortable while I'm living here because I
Mm-hmm.
bought it and it wasn't so great.
Yeah.
And then, but I want to basically like level up, and either buy the place next door, or I want to sell it and then, and get my investment back and then level up to like a two bedroom. So for those clients, we really try to stay around that 200 price per square foot range. We have to be realistic. But you should know that usually every 5 years, typically, you're always adding value to your apartment. It's always increasing in price. I mean, even from my own personal experience, we purchased a place in 2018, and then we sold it just last year, and it went up in price significantly. Even we got our money back, and we made very little because we customized everything, but
Mm-hmm.
it was nice, and we did make our money back,
And did
at
you
the
move
end
for
of the
more
day.
space for the family? Did you need more
We
space? Was it a two
did.
bedroom
We
now? What do
did.
you
We do. So actually, yes. So we basically went from a junior four. So a junior
Okay.
four is essentially a one bedroom with that extra room that you can kind of make into an
Yeah.
office or a
Mhm.
nursery or something like that. So that's what we purchased, and we were able to sell it actually March of last year. And then we moved into my parents' studio
Oh, okay.
temporarily, and because we didn't want to like pay for rent while
Hmm.
we
Yeah.
know we were purchasing, because we had to sell to buy.
Hmm.
So we moved into my parents' studio temporarily, and we were able to purchase a two bedroom, one and a half bath, but we're turning it into a three bedroom,
Too
two full
bad.
bath.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just like, when you're looking for an apartment, you should always look for windows, because if there's multiple windows that are split up, you can make those into bedrooms or into
Interesting.
offices or things like that. So when you're like looking to invest in the city, these are always things that we look for personally and for our
Hmm.
clients.
And just
So,
curious, can
and
I ask? I don't want to be too personal. Can you
yeah,
tell me what
no,
part
I
of
don't
town
care.
you live in? Just
Sure.
curious.
Yeah, I live
what do you
on
love the best? I mean, you probably
I
love where you're living. So is it Upper East Side? Is it Midtown? Is it Chelsea? Where are you?
so we live on the Upper West Side.
Okay.
And we were for a very long time. Our office is on 72nd and First. So we're on the Upper East
East
Side where
Side.
our office is located. But prior to moving to the Upper West Side, which I lived there when I first moved to the city, basically, which was over 20 years ago. But my husband had lived in Brooklyn, my boyfriend at the time, and so we moved into his rent stabilized place in Greenpoint, where we
Okay.
were
Yeah.
able to actually save money, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how we were able to purchase our first place. So I knew that once we Greenpoint was amazing and it
Yeah.
was fun.
I used to live in Long Island
Brooklyn,
City. So close. Yeah.
yeah, it's so great. Like, and especially now, like everything is just building up on the water. It's a beautiful waterfront now that's kind of connecting between Williamsburg and Greenpoint and then going into Long Island City.
Mm-hmm.
But once we had a kid, and I was like, maybe after 3 months of having a newborn, I was like, tell him, like, we got to move. We got to purchase something in the city. I want to move back. I want, there's like a lot of schools, there's like the parks, like everything is kind of set up on the Upper West Side. It's like, living into suburbia, but in a very urban,
Yeah, in urban in a
I know,
smaller space.
in
But
a
no, no.
smaller space,
No,
and
because I
so
worked for years
that's
on
what we did.
57th and CBS. Oh my gosh, with
Okay.
57th and 10th, right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
Upper West
Yeah.
Side. So that was at my commute. I lived in Whitestone. I lived in Long Island City, Whitestone, but the Upper West Side, yeah. And I used to work on the East
I
Side on
love it.
42nd and Second. I used to live one of the buildings over there on the East Side. So no, I'm just curious, what people like, and I mean, there's so much
Yeah.
to the city, and I guess if you're family, yeah, definitely the Upper West or Upper East Side.
It's so nice, and also it is a little bit more expensive up there, price per square foot.
Yes.
It is true, but I do feel like the quality of life that I get up there, and just like having the ability to have so many things to do with my kid, and the schools are great, and I just, yeah, we just really love it up there. So we were on in the mid or lower 90s and Riverside, and then we just purchased in the mid 80s, in like West End-ish area. So we really like it there. It's in the summertime, shockingly, because you're so close to the park, you can actually lift up your windows and hear cicadas like
Yeah.
in the park. So you kind of get that like very quiet feel, but living in the city. So we love it up there. Yep.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. So we're talking here about budgeting. We're talking about, what else did you want to talk about renovation before we get to some testimonials? Unless you want to start with those now, it's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to say that like the way that we build, we do have preferred vendors that we like to work with, and that has really helped us transform our business through the years, is really kind of accumulating very trusted vendors such as contractors. And is it okay that I like give out all their
Sure.
names and everything?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we adore them. And WA Maintenance, I have to give a shout out to WA Maintenance of Alex Bristino. He is a contractor that we've been working with for almost 12 years now. He's one of the first contractors that we started working with. And then we also work with Charles Roth, who's of Upper Restoration, who actually, he himself worked for 3F Living as a project manager 10 years ago, and then transitioned out and then started contracting. So the transition of working with him was really amazing because he understands our detail in what we're looking for, as well as Alex, just because of the years that we've been working together. We also work with David Ophidia of Diamond Era. He's amazing. We actually did our first apartment that we renovated, so he's great to work with. And then also Ivan Volanko. He is somebody that we recently found in the last few years, and he was preferred by a building that only worked with certain contractors,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a delight to work with. All of them have great quality, fair, easy to work with, and I really feel like building that network has really helped us have that kind of great relationship and helped our clients really get through all of phase 1 and phase 2 in a very successful way. So they're having a good
Mm-hmm.
contractor is really such a huge part of that, and understanding your wants and needs And then we also work with SL Diaz, who is he owns Intelligent Cabinets. He's our mill worker. So anything you see on our website, he basically did. And we've been working with him for as long as we've been working with Alex for about 12 years now. And then also state of the art wood flooring. That's where we get all of our wood floors. They're fantastic. They have a place
Which you
actually there.
taught me the tongue and groove. What is it
Yes,
called? Wait, what did you call it?
the engineered
Engineered
wood
wood,
floor.
but how tight are they? What's the mid?
Oh,
Is
it's the tongue and groove. The
the
tongue and
tongue
groove
and groove?
engine. Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
it
and
like
then you were
literally
telling
like
about the grout.
snaps.
If we did grout, you said you got to
Yeah,
do a quarter
one
or
sixteenth.
1/16.
One
Like when I
sixteenth.
what
Yeah.
1/4 is probably what I have, right? 1/4
Yes.
or something is one
Yes.
sixteenth. Like the old school, like what, like this.
Complete. Yes, exactly. It's like literally the size of your thumb is probably your grout size.
In my
No, we
kitchen.
like to do it. You're right. And we like to do it so minimal that like you're barely seeing any grout. So,
Got it. Okay.
and yeah, and so those are just some vendors that I really like adore and I want to give a shout out to because just
Oh,
having them as part of our team has
makes
just
things
helped us all
seamless,
grow.
effortless, and helps the client. And speaking of clients, yeah,
Absolutely.
there's some great reviews out there. I want to share some today. I know we got to a few last time, but not all. This person, this is again from Google reviews, says working with Lindsay, who is the CEO designer, and Tomac, an awesome licensed architect, and her incredible team at 3F Living have been a true pleasure to work with from our initial meeting to submitting plans and finished project. Any bump along the way was made exponentially easier by having their team on my side. I was introduced to them through my real estate agent, and from the first meeting, I just knew I was in good hands. Lindsay made me feel comfortable and was incredibly engaging. Clearly, she is. I talk to her every week, and she really is. Doing a renovation can be intimidating, and I've heard plenty of horror stories, but working with 3F Living team has eased all my fears and concerns. They have your back and work tirelessly to get what needs to be done as efficiently as possible. An example I can give was when we were having a hard time getting the final approval for my plans because the building was being difficult and hard to get in touch with. Tamek stood outside the management office and waited for hours to ensure what needed to get done was done. And to me,
He
this is
did do
beyond
that.
dedication. Yeah.
He did 100%. He
Oh
was like,
my.
"That's it. I'm just going down there and waiting."
And that's what you need, someone who's really by your side, who is working with you like that. Wow. So you're not just a number to them. Lindsay and her team are thorough, professional, and talented. They have taken an apartment that hasn't been touched in 30 years and turned it into something that looks like it should be featured in Architectural Digest. Lindsay has a credible eye for design and detail. She's realistic. And if she feels something doesn't look right, she will figure out a way, always flexible and always with integrity. She provides the perfect balance of being a friend and a professional. I always had a great time, of course, while picking out tile, flooring, all things needed with the gut renovation. Since you spend a lot of time with your renovation, it's nice to see a bonus, I should say, to work with someone as awesome as Lindsay and Tomac, her dedicated husband. And she and her team organize and always are there to answer her questions. Always open to meet, speak on the phone or via email. Despite having other projects going on, I never felt like any of my concerns were brushed aside. Other projects were more important. So at 3F Living, they're also 100% transparent with costs, as we just talked about today, breaking down the square footage to a renovation, which was awesome to get to know how you break down half of that with the contractor, the 20% to the architect, to the interior design. You're teaching me so much today. And I'm really glad that I chose them to help turn my dreams into reality. And this is from Carol, a homeowner in the city. And I know you obviously just mentioned your husband really did that work for her and stood outside the
Yeah.
management office. What part of the city was she from? Do you remember?
Yeah, she was in kind of Midtown East
Okay.
area.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We got another
Yeah.
testimonial.
Mhm.
To this day, I consider building our home as being one of the most rewarding endeavors in my life. We were so fortunate to find Lindsay, Joyce, and Tamek Gill of 3F Living to partner with. In my professional life, I search day in and day out for fellow creatives whose commitment to integrity and perfection is equivalent to mine. Lindsay and Tamek's vision, professionalism, and attention to detail complemented us so well. I could not have been happier with the results that came from our collaboration and feel lucky to be able to now call them friends. Michael, the homeowner. Also, we got one more here. Thank you, 3F Living. We love the beautiful home and helped design and gave us. We gut renovated and combined two apartments in Manhattan. And Lindsay, who of course was the CEO and designer, is exactly the person you want in charge of your renovation. She's high energy, attention to detail. She pays, responsive, and of course has an eye, a refined eye, I should say, for design, lines, and colors. Tomac, Lindsay's partner and licensed architect, gave us great ideas for maximizing the space space usage and solutions when our building's architect put up any hurdles. 3F kept our project moving along speedily, and we didn't compromise on the quality of our vision. Lindsay and Tamek were able to give us what we wanted and introduce new ideas we didn't even know were possible. Doing a renovation in New York City has many challenges, and we were so happy with our renovated home that we would gladly trust Lindsay and 3F again in our future. Beautiful. Great, great, great.
Thank
Now
you.
let's tell everyone how they can
Thank
reach
you.
out for you for an additional consultation like this.
Sure. So you can go to our website at www.3, the number 3, the letter F, living. .com, and you can go to the testimonials and also the info page and fill out a questionnaire and put out your information there, and we can get back to you. And you can also follow us on Instagram at 3F Living.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Pleasure speaking with you today, as always. And my regards to your husband. Is he ever going to come on and join us for these, or is he camera shy?
No. Actually, it's so funny. Next week, he's actually joining us.
Perfect.
So
looking forward to meeting him. Like, it's about
Yeah.
time. The dynamic duo. I love it. Enjoy the Upper West Side today. Hope